Hello and welcome to another ELAN original presentation. Today we are going to be going over Event Mapping 103. What are Booleans and variables and how to use them? First off, let's recap event maps real quick. Event maps are our if-then statements or macros. An if/or statement would be our event. What triggers this to start happening? A and statement would be our condition, in which all conditions must be true. Then statements are our commands. That's what we want this to actually trigger to happen. What are Booleans and variables? Booleans is a symbolic name associated with a value of true or false. A variable, in this case, can be any number, usually represented by an integer, either positive or negative. We use Booleans and variables to track things in ELAN. So let's refresh and look at a couple of the event maps we wrote in the last couple classes. Porch light on 30 minutes before sunset. What is the event? Timed event, sunset minus 30. What is the command? Turn on porch light. Or another way of looking at it, timed event, sunset minus 30, triggers, turn on porch light. Well, if we turn it on, we have to turn it off. So we combined these two event maps into one, porch light off at 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, and off at 2 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. What is the event? Well, we're going to have two timed events here. One that happens at 11 p.m. Monday and Friday, and one that happens at 2 a.m. Sunday and Monday. What is the command? Turn off the porch light. Or another way of looking at it, timed event 11 p.m. or timed event 2 a.m. triggers turn off porch light. There's been usually some questions about why didn't we do this in the scheduling under lighting. Well, the reason why we're doing this as an event map, first of all, it's a great way of teaching event maps. Second, the client would like the light to stay on during this time period. In order for us to have the light stay on, we have to track if it's between the two times. So we have to create a Boolean. In this case, we're calling it porch stay on between the two events. So we're going to have to add commands to each of the previous event maps so we can track the status. What is going to be our event? In this case, the event would be somebody trying to turn off the porch light with a condition of our Boolean is true. We'll have a command of turn the porch light on. So basically, if somebody tries to turn it off, it will automatically turn it back on. So let's go to Configurator and see how this works. All right, so first thing we have to do is create our Boolean. So we will right-click on Booleans, add new. New Boolean is going to be called porch stay on. Now we need to go in and edit our two previous event maps. Porch light on sunset minus 30. So this will turn the Boolean to true. So we're going to have to go in here and add our command. We're going to add the command under variables. So we'll select variables. We only have one at the moment, porch stay on. And we're going to set it to true. Options here are set for false, set for true, or toggle state. In this case, we know what we want to do. We just want to set it to true. So if we set it to true, we have to have one to set it to false. So we're going to go back up here to our porch light off, which we have our two timed events triggering this to turn the porch light off. We're going to add a command, variables, porch stay on, and we're going to change it to false. So now we have set the two event maps we have previously done to track whether they fired or not. So now we need to add our third event map to this series. So right click, add new event map. We're going to call it porch light stay on. So with this one, like we showed in the PowerPoint, the event is going to be somebody trying to turn the light off, which is going to be under lighting system. And we want to go find that porch light right there, and we're going to hit off. So if somebody tries to turn it off, and our condition is going to be the variable equals true, so this will be porch stay on, state equals true, we'll fire the command of turn the light back on. Now, depending on the lighting system, in most cases, if it's Lutron, Vantage, something IP, or serial controlled, you will dang near never see the light go off. It may give you a little bit of a flicker in this case, but usually will never go off. In some cases with Z-Wave, if you had multiple systems of Z-Wave in the same location, you might see it go off and then come back on. But that'll make that work. So if somebody tries to turn it off and the Boolean equals true, turn the light on. So this is just an easy way I use to help teach Booleans and variables. Another example to teach here is most people understand the concept of the pull chain on a ceiling fan, where when you pull the chain, it goes from high to medium to low to off, and then back to high. We can duplicate this using a variable. In this case, the variable would have 4 states, 0, 1, 2, and 3, and we can trigger this with a button press. In this case, I will use my KP7 and use a button press off of it to trigger. Now, this could be triggered by anything, whether it's a button on a touchscreen, remote, whatever. First thing I do is I always create my variable. Then I set up the button presses to change the variable. Once I know that's done, then I will go make my event maps that will trigger off of the variable equals to what number. So let's start with setting our variable. We're going to create a new variable. I'll call this one ceiling fan. And we'll have it start with a value of 0. That's fine. And let's go ahead and start with our event map. So our first event map, we'll call it ceiling fan button set variable. And in here, we're going to go 0, actually we'll do 1 through 3. Or actually 3 to 1, because we're going to make this one count down. Okay? So we'll call this one 3 to 1. So first thing is going to be our event. What triggers the event map to start? Well, in this case, we're going to use an interface device, and I'm going to use my Office KP7, and I'm going to use favorite number 4. So we're going to have this button's pressed, and we only want this to do this for characters, variable values 3, 2, and 1. We don't want it to do this for 0 because we want it to subtract 1 every time the button is pressed. And if we did this again at 0, it would go below 0 and not repeat and go back up. So we'll have 2 event maps here. One's going to be for 3 to 1, and one's going to be specific for 0. Whenever the variable equals 0, we'll have it go back to 3. Okay, so first off we have here, we're going to have our condition in here. So we're going to add our condition, and it's going to be variable ceiling fan does not equal 0. So if this button is pressed and the variable does not equal 0, we want it to subtract 1 from the number. So we're going to go in here and add our command of variable, ceiling fan, change variable by value of -1. And you'll see down here it says subtract 1 from the variable. We can change that minus sign to a plus sign and add 1 if we wanted to. But in this case, we're going to subtract 1. So that's our first event map. Let's create our second event map. And you know what? I'm just going to go back in here and copy from here. So that way I don't have to type it again. And this will be set variable for 0. So we're going to have button press again. Interface device, that Office KP7, we got to make sure we use the exact same button. And in this case, we're going to set using variable equals 0. So here, if the button's pressed and the variable equals 0, we're going to set the variable to 3. So by doing this, we've created a loop where the variable can only have 4 values, 0, 1, 2, or 3. And it doesn't matter how many times you hit the button, it's just going to click in -1, -1, -1, get to 0, go back to 3, and -1, -1, -1, go to 0, go back to 3. Okay? That way we can manage the range of the variable. Now we would need to add 4 new event maps for our ceiling fan power value. So one will be set to 100%, one to 66%, one to 33%, one to off. And we're just going to use the corresponding variables to do that. So let's create our 4 event maps. I'll go ahead and paste and call it ceiling fan variable equals 3. So our event that's going to trigger this is going to be our variable equals, it's going to be ceiling fan equals value 3. So if the ceiling fan equals value 3, the ceiling fan variable, we want to set that load, which is going to be under lighting system. We'll scroll down and find ceiling fan. And we can set the level to 100%. Now I'm using a dummy load here just to teach this. There's multiple different ways of doing this with ceiling fans. This is one to help you understand the concept. So we need to create our next event map, and I'm going to go ahead and cheat and copy this right here. So a new event map, and we're going to do it for 2. So in this case, where the variable equals 2, scroll down to variables, check the ceiling fan, equals value of 2. We're going to set the load, which remember it popped back up where we were, lighting system and our ceiling fan, set level, and we're going to set our level to 66%. This could also be done for a lighting load if you wanted to have a 3-stage dimmer. You could also do multiple stages here, just a matter of how many different variables you set. So if you wanted it to do it in increments of 10%, you could set up 10 different variables and have the loop at a 10 quantity of 10. So let's add our next event map. And in this case, it's a variable equals 1. Variable ceiling fan equal value of 1. And we're going to set that level to 33%. So that's the first 3. Now we need to do our variable of 0. So now we're going to do our variable equals 0. And in this case, we do not want to use a set level. We want to use an off command. And we're lighting system, switch dimmer ceiling fan off. So now for doing this, we've actually used 6 different event maps and 1 variable. 2 of the event maps set the variable value. The other 4 are for the 4 different values the variable could have. Now let's do another one. In this case, we're going to actually have it add up. I like using the KP7 buttons for multiple different things. And in this case, I'm going to take my Office KP7 button. I'm going to take the top button. I'm going to make it go between 3 different favorites on my media streamer. So, first thing we're going to have to do is we're basically going to mimic this in a little bit different form. We're going to have to create our variable first, which in this case, I'm going to call the variable Office Music. And I'm going to set it as a 1 for a starting point. And because what I need is 3 different variables. I don't like doing a 0, 1, 2 for a 3, a 1, 2, and 3 favorite. I'd rather do 1, 2, 3 and make the loop there. So we're going to do that. I'm going to copy that to save typing. Add our event map. So Office Music, we'll call this variable 1-2. Put my space in there. So we're going to do the same thing. In this case, we're going to make it count up. So we're going to use our interface device, Office KP7. I'm going to use favorite number 1. So when favorite number 1 is pressed, and our condition is going to be variable Office Music does not equal 3, we will add 1 to it. So we're going to come in here and set our variable Office Music, change value, and here we're going to do +1. You'll notice when I hit enter, it says +1 here instead of subtract 1. So this is our first event map. We now need to make the second event map. And this is going to be for setting the variable to 3. Okay, so if the variable equals 3, so it's going to be interface device, Office KP7, favorite 1 is pressed, and variable Office Music is equal to 3. We are going to set Office Music to 1. So here's our 2 event maps that will set our variables. Now we need to do our 3 event maps that execute when the variables equal. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this, add new event map, and we'll go Office Music 1. So here our event is going to be our variable Office Music value is equal to 1. What do we want it to do? Well, in my Office, we're going to do this in 2 different commands. First thing we're going to do is turn the zone on. And we're going to set the source as my Fusion music player. So once we've set that, then we have to add the command, which I believe is under Media System. Yes, it is. There it is, Fusion Player. Execute favorite. And I have 3 favorites saved in here currently. And we'll execute favorite. So the first command will turn the zone on and set the source to Fusion Player. The second command will fire right after it, and we'll execute that favorite. So let's do our other 2 event maps. Right click, add, paste. This will be for number 2. Here our event is going to be variable equals 2. Okay, so with our variable equaling 2, we're going to go in here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my second one here since I'm already there, and I'll just rearrange them. Audio zone controller, office, set source to Fusion Player. And now I just highlight one of them and move it up or down to get them back in the right order. That's just a quick way to do it. Now for our third event map, add another event map. This will be 3. And this will be when the variable equals 3. We want to go in here, and since we're still here, set source, Fusion. And then we'll go down to Media System, Fusion, execute favorite, and grab my third favorite. All right, so now we have 5 event maps here for our variable office music. 2 event maps set up the loop for it to count between the 3 variable positions, and then 3 event maps for when each variable is hit. Hopefully this helps you understand Booleans and variables and gives you a couple of examples on how to use them. Please look forward to our next event mapping class, which will be advanced event mapping, where we tie all 3 of the previous classes together and go even farther. Thank you and have a great day.